Hello class, today we're taking a look at our ordering numbers practice. First question asks us to convert all the values to decimals and then use the decimals to order the numbers in ascending order. So we're going to take a look at our first fraction here, 9 over 3. We have a couple ways we can convert a fraction to a decimal. The first is to make the bottom 10, 100, or 1,000. Can't do that here. Second one is to take a proper fraction and make 999 or 999 on the bottom. This isn't a proper fraction. Our last way is just to divide. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So if you want as a decimal, that's 3.0. With our 17 over 20, I can make 100 on the bottom by multiplying by 5. Don't be afraid to long multiply your 17 by 5 if you need to. 5 times 7 is 35, and 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 8. So this is 85 out of 100. And 85 out of 100 is 0.85, reaching the hundredths place. 3/10 is 0.3, reaching the tenths place. 4 can be multiplied by 25 to make 100 on the bottom, and that gives us 75 on the top. 75 hundredths is 0.75. Then our 4 over 5 can be multiplied by 2, and that gives us our 8 out of 10. And 8 out of 10 is 0.8, or 8/10, reaching the tenths place. From here, we want to go ahead and compare all these decimals. So let's start on the ones place. We've got 3, 0, 0, 0, 0. So obviously, this is our biggest number over here. Now we want to put these in ascending order, which means least to greatest. So we know that this number here is our largest, and we always write our values as they were given in the question. So 9/3 is our biggest value. Next, we can compare the tenths place. We've got 0, 8, 3, 7, and 8. So we've got 2 8s that are our next largest, and so then we want to think about the hundredths place in those. 8/5 is bigger than 8/0. So 17/20 is our next largest, and then our 4/5 is third largest. The ones we have left are 0.3 and 0.75. Obviously 0.7 is bigger than 0.3. So then we've got our 0.75, which was 3/4, and then our 3/10 as our last one. So our order is 3/10, 3/4, 4/5, 17/20, and 9/3 from least to greatest. Take a look at question B. Again, we want to convert all of these to decimals. In 5/9, we have 1 9 on the bottom. We know that creates a repeating decimal. So this is 0.5555, 5s forever. In the case of 14 over 18, I can make a 9 on the bottom by dividing by 2. This gives us 7 on the top and 9 on the bottom, which is 0.7 repeating, or 0.7777 forever. 0.7 is already a decimal, so I'll leave it at that. 0.6 for 6/10, and then here I can divide by 2, and that will give me 73 over 100, which is 0.73. Again, don't be afraid to long divide here if you need to. Okay. From there, again, we can compare all of our decimals. So our smallest digit in the tenths place is our 5 over here. So that's going to be our least fraction, 5 out of 9. Next, we have our 0.6 over here. Next, we have 3 of them that have a 7. So 7, 7, 7. So we want to look at those. We've got 7/0, 7/3, and 7/7. So obviously 0, then 3, then 7. And of course, we do actually want to write those with their original ways that they were written. So our 0.7 was written like that. Our 7/3 was actually 146 out of 200. And our 7 repeating is 14 out of 18 as our greatest value. Okay, so using decimals to compare our numbers. When we use equivalent fractions with common denominators, we want to, of course, make those fractions all have a common denominator. So if we look at question A, everything's a fraction here. We've got denominators 5, 10, 2, 10, and 5. And all of those numbers are going to be able to be multiplied to make 10. If you needed to, of course, you could list out multiples of 2, list out multiples of 5, list out multiples of 10, and it would be the 10 that is the first one that appears in all three lists. So our common denominator is going to be 10. Let's go ahead and multiply it to make all of these fractions have that common denominator. 5 needs to multiply by 2, and that gives us 4 tenths. 10 doesn't have anything that needs to be done to it, so it's just the same. 2 needs to be multiplied by 5 to make 5 tenths. 7 tenths is already having a 10 on the bottom. And then 5 needs to be multiplied by 2 to make 6 tenths. From here, we just need to go ahead and compare the top numbers. We want these in ascending order. I don't know why it disappeared here, but ascending order. And so we're going to go ahead and say, well, our 1/10 is the smallest. Our next smallest is 4 tenths, which was originally 2/5. I guess I should do those in those colors. So our order is 1/10, then 2/5. Then we've got our 5 tenths, which was originally 1/2. Then we've got our 6 tenths, which was originally 3/5. And then we've got our 7 tenths last. Taking a look at question B, we've got denominators 4, 12, 24, 6, and 6. Again, if you think about our denominators here, multiples of 24 are 24 and 48. Multiples of 4, 4 does go into 24. And then multiples of 6, 6 also goes into 24. So 24 is going to be our lowest common denominator here, since nothing can simplify. Let's multiply it by 6 in our first fraction to make a denominator of 24. 3 times 6 on the top will give us 18. Let's multiply by 2 in our second fraction. That will give us 22 out of 24. Our middle fraction there already has a bottom of 24, so we can just leave it be. And then our 6 is on the bottom. We're going to need to multiply it by 4 to make 24. Out of 24. Now we can go ahead and order these. Our smallest top number is 4. Our next smallest top number is 18, then 19, then 20, and then 22. So let's put those in order using their original values. So we got our 1/6 is smallest. Then we've got our 3/4 is next smallest. Then we've got our 19/24 is next smallest. Then our 5/6, and then our 11/12. And again, that's from least to greatest in ascending order. Greatest. Oops. Flipping to the back, same deal. So we want to make a common denominator for 2, 2, 4, 4, and 2. Most of us should be able to see that that common denominator is, whoops, not 2, but 4. So let's go ahead and make that common denominator. We'll multiply by 2 here to get 12/4. We'll multiply our number here. We can make our mixed number into an improper fraction here as well. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7 halves. And then we need to multiply that by 2 to get 14/4. Let's also convert this mixed number to improper. So 3 times 4 plus 1. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13 out of 4. This one already has a 4 on the bottom, 15 out of 4. And then 9 halves, we're going to have to multiply by 2 to get 18/4. From here, we can go ahead and compare the top numbers. The smallest top number we have is 12, then 13, then 14, then 15, and then 18. And so let's go ahead and put those in order. They're actually almost in order already. So we got our 6/2 is smallest. Then we've got our 3 1/4 second smallest, our 3 1/2, our 14/4, our 15/4, excuse me, and then our 9/2 last. And again, that is from least to greatest. In question D, we can do a lot of simplification in these fractions, so let's do that. We can divide top and bottom here by 25. This is really 3/4. I can divide top and bottom here by 3, and that'll give me 13/4. This already has nothing that I can simplify in it, so it's 7/10. I could divide top and bottom here by 5, and that will give me 4/5. And then there's nothing really I can do here with 51/50, so I'll leave that be. So I've got denominators 4, 10, 25, and 50. And I do think all of those are going to have to go into 100 as our common denominator. I can't do anything with that 50 and those 4s together other than 100. So I'm going to leave my 75/100ths as it is, as it turns out. My 13/4 I'm going to need to multiply by 25 to make 100. Again, don't be afraid to long multiply. I'm actually going to do 25 times 13. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Placeholder 0. 1 times 5, 1 times 2. That gives me 325 out of 100. My 7 out of 10, got to multiply by 10 to make 7D out of 100. My 25/20ths, or 4/5ths, I'm going to multiply by 20 to give me 80 out of 100. And then I got to multiply by 2 to finish up to make 50 into 100. From there, let's go ahead and compare the top numbers. Our smallest top number, I believe, is 70. Then we've got 75, then 80, then 102, and then 325. So our order using our original values is 7/10, then 75/100ths, then 20/25ths, then our 51/50ths, and then our 39/12ths. The other thing that's different in question 3 is that we need to choose whether we are using decimals or fractions. So you just want to look at them and decide which of them seems easier for you. Both of them will work for any question, but you gotta just decide what's easiest. 4.6 is already a decimal. 5 1/10 is 5.1. 1/10 being 0.1 plus 5 is 5.1. I can go ahead and multiply by 2. That'll give me a 10 on the bottom and 78 on the top. So that's 7.8 as a decimal, and 3.8 is already a decimal. So just by looking at the whole numbers here, 3 is smallest, then 4, then 5, then 7, and that's enough to put them in order. So we want these from least to greatest. So 3.8 is our smallest, 4.6 then. After that is 5 1/10, and then our 39/5 is last. Okay, and obviously that's to greatest. In question B, if I take a look, I've got 7/4, 2.3 is already a decimal, 27/12 can reduce, and 2 1/5 is pretty easy to make a decimal. Let's try reducing this, see what happens. Both of them divide by 3. That gives us 9/4. And that is also pretty easy to make a decimal. So let's go ahead and make some decimals here. 7/4 times 25 times 25. 7 times 25 is 115, I believe. We'll check that. 7 times 5, 35. 7 times 2, is 14. Plus our 3 is 17. That's better. So this is 175 out of 100. Let's write that over here, which is 1.75, reaching the hundredths place. This is 2.3, obviously, already. 9 over 4, we're going to multiply by 25 as well. And 25 times 9 should just be an extra 50 on top of 175, but we can do it. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 4 is 22. So this is 2.25 as a decimal. And then 1/5 we can multiply by 2 to give us 2/10. So this is 2.20. 2.20. So let's go ahead and compare. Our smallest ones place is 1.75, so that is our smallest number. Next, we have the next three fractions have a 2 in the wholes place, so then we need to look at hundredths. 2/0 is smaller than 2/5. So 2 1/5 is smaller than 27/12. And then we've got our, 2.3 as our last one. And again, that's least to greatest. Finish up here. If I take a look at question C, 21/6 can reduce by dividing by 3. 6/18 can also reduce by dividing by 6 in that case. So let's reduce these and see if our questions look any easier after we do that. I'm going to divide here by 3. That's going to give me 7/2. I'm going to go ahead and divide here by 6. That's going to give me 1/3 there. And then I'm going to go ahead and 2/3 is already, simplified. And then 2.5 is also already a decimal. All these ones I think are going to be pretty easy to convert to a decimal. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. My 7/2, I'll just have to convert that to a 10 on the bottom. So that'll give me 70. Sorry, I should be multiplying by 5 to make 10 on the bottom. That's better. 35/10, which is 3.5 as a decimal. 2 1/3, I'm going to multiply by 3 to get a 9 on the bottom. So 2 3/9 is 2.3 repeating, 3/9 being the 0.3 repeating. We're going to multiply it by 3 here as well to get a 9 on the bottom. So this is 2.6 repeating, 2 wholes, and then 6 repeating, and then 2.5 here. So if I go ahead and compare, my smallest is going to be my 2.3. That was 2 6/18 originally. Next smallest is my 2.5. Next smallest is my 2.6 repeating, which was 2 2/3. And then next smallest was my 21/6, which is 3.5. Again, that's from least to greatest. It would also be possible to do this one with a common denominator. It's just that you're going to have a denominator of 10 here to start with, 5/10. But you can reduce that down to 1/2 and then have a common denominator of 6, I believe we could use for our 2 and our 3. Okay, so hopefully that has helped you understand how to order numbers by converting either to decimal or to fractions with a common denominator.